Hello, thanks so much for visiting the blog again. So last week I posted about the launch of To Love a Stranger, which of course has been almost 10 years in coming. It's very exciting to have the book out in the world finally. And also last week I had an excerpt from around the middle of the book when my main character Sam was getting ready to direct his first concert with the orchestra that he is working for at the beginning of the story. And I wanted to, this week, read another short excerpt from the novel, and this time I'd like to play some music that directly correlates with that part of the story. So, as I've talked about in other blog posts, classical music was a major inspiration for To Love a Stranger, and a lot of the sort of groundwork for the book came from my own training as a classical musician and what I got to see of the backstage world, especially of the classical symphony, when I was studying for my master's degree in piano performance. And one of the kind of big aspects of that world that inspired me was the energy that you got going into a performance with so many people coming together to work on this one thing. And another big aspect of that was how music came so vividly to life in that context. And so when I started working on To Love a Stranger, it was with the idea of getting that vividness onto the page and really sharing the experience of music with the reader. So what I wanted to do in today's blog post is to read a short excerpt from the book and then play the piece of music that goes directly with that excerpt. I have my launch party coming up next week, which is very exciting, and a big part of what I'll be doing at the launch party is performing some of the music that is featured, some of the piano music that's featured in To Love a Stranger, and I'll be sharing short excerpts from the book that go with each of those pieces that I'll be performing. So this is kind of a taste of what's going to be happening at the launch party next week. So the excerpt that I'd like to read today comes from chapter 3, and what's going on here is Sam, my main character, has recently moved to Richmond. He was living in Philadelphia, and he has moved to Richmond to start his job with the Richmond Symphonic Artists, which is the orchestra that he's working with over the course of the book. And he is feeling extremely lonely. He is estranged from his family, who are back in Pennsylvania, and he is feeling quite isolated, and he's dealing with lots of difficult emotions and going through a rough time. And so he's kind of trying to get himself together to be in this professional mindset to work with his orchestra. This is his first gig as a conductor, and so of course he wants to make a good impression, but he's also dealing with all of this stress in his private life. So this is a short excerpt that then gets me into the piece of music that I'll be playing, which I guess I should introduce it now. It will be the Intermezzo Opus 116 No. 6 by Johannes Brahms. So here's the excerpt from chapter 3. On Thursday night, Sam got to the Lewis Center early. The chorus would arrive soon for their second rehearsal with him. At the first one, Sam had learned that only 2 people in the room besides him had much idea of what music was about: Jeanette Riley, his accompanist, and Nathan Woods, the black baritone in the back row. The rest of the singers had barely followed Sam's lead, and had wasted so many minutes hunting for the right places in their music that anyone would have thought they were getting paid overtime. Sam would have to get them into shape if he wanted them to sing a passable performance in October. Tonight, though, he didn't have much to give. Last night, he had dreamed about Westbury. He had been driving across the Lackawanna River, heading into the south end of town. The gray Pinto was right, the deep, quick-moving river was right, the old concrete bridge was right. Sam had recognized it all immediately, and didn't understand how he could possibly be there, but the sun was shining, and by God, he was headed home. He hit the gas, the car surged forward, and in exactly the same instant, the bridge disappeared. No cracks formed, no concrete crumbled away. 1 second the span was there, and the next it was gone. Sam looked down at the river below, farther away than it could have been in the real world, and then the car dropped like a stone. He had jerked awake, sweating, staring at the dark ceiling. It was maybe 4 in the morning. He couldn't play the piano at that hour, so he sat on the bench and turned on the brass lamp and stared at his Mozart score while the sky turned gray outside. Now he sat down at the rehearsal room's piano. With the memory of that dream in his head, he let his fingers choose the music. A Gentle Lament by Brahms. He lived inside it while it lasted, and at the end, he let his hands stay on the keys for a long time. Music let you speak, when words didn't do any good.